Eleanor had told him some of her friends were back from abroad, and she asked him to drive her to a welcome-back party. When they arrived, he realized it was actually a party to welcome her ex-boyfriend. The ex, Liam, was wearing a gray coat with a warm-colored scarf, which made him look composed and reserved. He saw Eleanor's eyes light up. At the dinner table, the gossip-loving Olivia asked Liam, "Liam, you've been abroad for so many years. Do you have a girlfriend now?" The man hesitated for a moment and answered with a slightly bitter tone, "The deepest love I've ever experienced. Nothing else can compare to that." After saying this, he glanced at Eleanor, then lowered his head and smiled faintly. Daniel furrowed his brows and tried to put his arm around Eleanor's shoulders, but she subtly pushed him away. She said in a calm voice, "I'm going to the restroom." His throat felt dry. What did this mean? Did she not want to appear close to him in front of her ex? Or was she just genuinely uncomfortable? The atmosphere in the room was getting warmer. After a while, Liam grinned and came over to add him on social media. He said, "Eleanor's mentioned you before. You're a good guy." Daniel was speechless. He didn't have a habit of checking his girlfriend's phone, but Liam's words seemed to imply they had never lost contact. Daniel frowned and clenched his fists, glancing at Eleanor absently. Just then, their eyes met, but he knew clearly she wasn't looking at him. Liam casually draped his arm over Daniel's shoulder and started chatting with him about their college days. For a moment, Daniel almost mocked himself for overthinking it. Maybe they were just classmates. While she was away in the restroom, Daniel opened Liam's social media moments. His profile picture was a solo shot of him by the sea. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He quickly opened Eleanor's moments. Same scenery, same spot. Clearly, it was a couple's photo. Then he overheard a conversation between Eleanor's best friends. Olivia said, "I'm not saying this, but Eleanor, Liam is so stable and kind. He knows how to treat people well, and you two have known each other for so long. Unlike Daniel, who's so chauvinistic and selfish. He wouldn't even give up his bank card. Our dream as women is to marry a husband who knows how to care for us, right?" Isabel agreed. "Plus, he hasn't had a new girlfriend after 3 years abroad. He's obviously waiting for you." Just now, he was eager to pay for the meal. Look at Daniel. He was only focused on eating, didn't even notice things like that. Chloe nodded and added, "I have a say in this too. When we were abroad, he was always frowning, staring at your photos and telling me not to tell you because he didn't want to disturb your life. He just wanted you to be happy. I couldn't stand seeing him like that. 4 years of a relationship, there's no way it just ends like that. This is the bag he bought for you while he was abroad." When Daniel wasn't around, they didn't know the restroom in the private room wasn't soundproof. When he came out, after exchanging a glance with each other, they shifted to a different topic. Daniel sat back and silently watched as Liam sang several sad love songs one after another, especially when he sang that one song about a guest. His eyes blatantly focused on Eleanor. He sang, "Thank you for the special invitation to witness your love." The fleeting look of sadness and regret in his eyes didn't escape Daniel. Eleanor, feeling seen, scrambled for a drink, trying to cover up her unease. Daniel hid in a corner and quietly laughed to himself. It had been years since he'd seen a drama like this. In the second half of the evening, someone suggested playing games. The first few questions were decent, but the later ones were either intentional or deliberate. Eleanor kept losing. One of the questions was, "Have you ever regretted breaking up?" Eleanor hesitated and glanced at him awkwardly. Daniel kept his polite smile. She stammered, No. He noticed Liam's hand was trembling slightly as he held his glass, but Eleanor still saw the emotion in his eyes. The last question, "Is there anyone here you like?" She answered with a single word, "Yes," but her gaze wasn't directed at Daniel. It was on her ex-boyfriend Liam. It was like she was trying to make up for the disappointment she caused him with her last answer. Daniel nodded and stood up, speaking slowly. "You really are a bitch." Daniel hadn't left yet, but they were exchanging flirtatious glances right in front of him. He wasn't some tragic character from a melodramatic story, so why should he be the bigger person? What did being magnanimous even mean? Was it just cowering and comforting yourself by thinking you were above it all? If he hesitated for even a second, he'd be disrespecting himself. He immediately slapped Eleanor across the face and said, "You're a pile of shit." Then he stood up, wiped his hands, and scanned the room. "I really don't get the brainwaves of you single-celled creatures. You're trying to match up someone who's already got a boyfriend with her ex, acting all fancy like you're someone special. Can't you do something decent for once? He looked at Olivia and said, Yeah, I'm a big macho man. What are you going to do about it? I'm not handing over my paycheck card. What's it got to do with you? You don't know how to be a decent human, but you're always scheming how to control others, right? We're even sorting trash now, so do yourself a favor and go where you belong. All right then. Turning to Isabel, he smiled and said, Don't worry, I just love to eat. Got a big appetite. Next time, go attend your funeral banquet. I'll sit at the kids' table at your funeral feast and celebrate why someone so young doesn't see the next day's sun. Oh, wait. It's because their tongue's too long, and Yama's too kind to let them wander around the human world. Finally, to Chloe, he said, Singing off-key means you're tone deaf, but speaking out of tune, maybe your brain isn't working properly. You love running errands for others so much. Not becoming a courier is such a waste of your talent. Then he turned to Eleanor and said, Just break up already. Don't waste my time. Olivia's face turned pale with rage, and she yelled, What are you barking for, you dog? Daniel smiled faintly and said, First time I've seen so much shit in one place. I'm just too excited. As he was about to leave, Liam grabbed his arm and tried to smooth things over. Bro, Eleanor and I really don't have anything going on. Don't act like this. We haven't seen each other in so long. We just wanted to catch up. If I upset you, I'll leave right now. Daniel asked coldly, Stop with the bullshit. You know I'm upset, and yet you still came here. What's your game plan? Liam turned pale when he heard this and apologized. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. With that, he looked at Eleanor with a face full of guilt. Daniel yanked him by the collar and said, I'm the one asking you questions. What are you looking at her for? Does her face have the answer? Eleanor shot up like her tail was stepped on, biting her lip and saying, Daniel, why are you bullying people like this? Do you think Liam's easy to pick on? You're going too far. The others started to fight back at Daniel. Isabel said seriously, I've got no words for you. We should never have agreed when you chased after Eleanor. Who do you think you are? Olivia chimed in. Yeah, we like Liam way more. Someone like you is destined to be lonely forever. Chloe snorted and said, If you're not happy, just call the cops. Liam's more gentle and magnanimous than you. You're just jealous. Daniel gave a contemptuous smile and looked at everyone. Isabel, if you can't speak, go learn sign language. Do you want me to teach you? Did Eleanor call your mom? Does it matter whether she agrees or not? Does she need to report to you every time she pees? Olivia, you're truly like a cockroach sneezing, spraying shit all over your mouth. If you know I'm right, then go ahead and write this down. I'm not the type to die alone, so you don't need to worry about me. What I'm worried about is whether you can handle the consequences of talking like that without getting your ass kicked. Chloe, you know so much about his character. Are you sure you've spent so much time with him that you've experienced it firsthand? The world's big, but it can't match the size of the gap in your brain. And by the way, I can't call the cops, because I'd need the dog catcher squad for you. Promise me, next time at least try to pretend to be human. Could you make it look a little more convincing? Finally, he turned to Eleanor, who looked a bit stunned, and smiled faintly. Eleanor, your heart's higher than the sky, so what? You're trying to play both sides. Who do you think you are? With that, he turned and walked off. But Eleanor followed him out with a pitiful look on her face. She said, Daniel, it's all my fault. Everyone just said Chloe and Liam hadn't seen each other in so long since they returned from abroad, so they all decided to get together. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. She said, I'm sorry. Can you not be mad? She wiped her wet hair, her beautiful face full of guilt. Daniel asked, Then what did that look mean when you were staring at him earlier? Eleanor paused for a few seconds and then said, Maybe it's just because we haven't seen each other for so long. After all, we still move in the same circle. I didn't want things to get too awkward. Daniel laughed. Eleanor, the background picture on your phone, that's a couple photo, right? Eleanor froze, quickly glanced at Liam, who had just walked out, and said, It's not what you think. I just forgot to change it. She quickly opened her phone and switched the background to a photo of them together. Daniel stared at her for a few seconds, and she nervously lowered her head, mumbling, Daniel, I've been broken up with him for 3 years. I really have no feelings for him anymore. Do you believe me? Can we not break up? Let's go home. I'm Daniel. When I say it's over, it's over. But before he could speak, Liam ran up to him. He apologized sincerely. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have come and interrupted your happiness. I just wanted to see her one more time. Daniel was speechless. He asked, so, should I just let you have your way? Liam's eyes were frantic as he coughed a couple of times and said, I didn't mean it like that. Sorry, I'll leave now. Don't fight because of me. But just as he turned around, he almost collapsed. Eleanor hurriedly supported his arm, saying, why did you drink so much? Don't you know you're allergic to alcohol? Her voice was full of concern. Liam, supported by her, looked at her with deep affection and said, I was just so happy. I didn't realize. Daniel crossed his arms and watched them. Eleanor bit her lip and explained to him, Daniel, Liam's allergic to alcohol. He could be in danger if he drinks too much. Can I take him home? Daniel was confused and asked, what do you think, Eleanor? The next second, Liam muttered, it's so itchy. He pulled at his collar, and the skin on his neck turned bright red. Eleanor, her eyes full of worry, said, don't scratch, you'll make it worse. Daniel stared at Eleanor and asked, Eleanor, are you sure you want to go with him? She shook his arm and pouted, Daniel, I'll come back to you after I take him home. He might need to go to the hospital. Daniel replied, okay. He walked past them, but out of the corner of his eye, he saw a flash of smugness in Liam's eyes. Later, he saw Liam's social media moments where he posted, on this cold night, I'm glad you're here. The picture was of a woman's back in a kitchen. Of course, it was Eleanor. Daniel had met Eleanor through work. She had a gentle personality, stunning looks, and, most importantly, an amazing figure. To be blunt, he was just after her body, so he directly started pursuing her. After a series of accidental encounters and romantic surprises, he successfully won her over. It had been a year now. He knew she had a boyfriend of 4 years, but that was in the past. She said he'd gone abroad and wouldn't be coming back, so he didn't bother to dig deeper into their situation. Looking back now, their breakup wasn't because of a lack of love, but rather the objective reason of long distance. Thinking of Liam's smug post on social media, Daniel's nails dug deep into his palm. Daniel, had always been a dominant figure on the street. If he had a grudge, he'd settle it on the spot. But he didn't expect this ex of hers to be so sneaky. This was starting to cross into his blind spot. He needed to think this through. Eleanor sent him a message. Babe, it's raining tonight. I bet you didn't bring an umbrella. I'll pick you up after work. Then we can go to your place. Is that okay? Daniel was about to refuse when the team leader came in with a new recruit. Daniel looked up, and to his surprise, there he was, Liam. Things were starting to get interesting. He deleted the message he was about to send and replied with one word. Okay. He wanted to see what Liam was up to. After the introductions, Liam walked straight up to him with a sincere look and said, Daniel, what a coincidence. I look forward to working with you. He still had that warm, gentle demeanor, but Daniel knew this wasn't a coincidence. It meant, 1. He and Eleanor had been in contact all along. How long had this been going on? Daniel stared at Eleanor's profile picture, trying to remember. At the newcomer gathering, Liam didn't drink. When Daniel went to the restroom, he ran into him. Liam smiled, washing his hands, and said, Sorry, Daniel, Eleanor came over to my place yesterday. You're not mad, are you? His apology couldn't hide the smugness in his tone. Daniel laughed. Why would I be mad? I'm not a trash can. I don't take in every piece of garbage. Liam's smile froze, but he quickly regained his composure. As he walked past Daniel, he said faintly, I was with her for 4 years. You think 1 year of dating can compare? Daniel really couldn't understand his logic. Who the hell wanted to fight over trash? If he tossed it, he'd just find another girl. What was the big deal? Liam continued, If something happens to me, she'll definitely come to me first. Daniel, be smart. Don't compete with me. Daniel laughed out loud. You really are a trash can. You really know how to pack things. You look like a QR code. No one even knows what you are until they scan it. Liam's face turned pale with rage. After dinner, a heavy rain started pouring down. Daniel saw Eleanor standing outside, holding an umbrella. When she saw him, she walked towards him happily, but when Liam came out, she paused in her tracks. She deliberately didn't greet Liam and walked straight to Daniel's side, linking her arm with his, handing him the umbrella and saying, Daniel, let's go. He didn't take it and instead took out his own umbrella, saying, I brought my umbrella. She froze for a moment upon seeing his action. Eleanor wasn't angry. She still spoke softly. Daniel is so thoughtful. With such heavy rain, one umbrella would leave both of us soaked. A colleague who passed by asked Liam, "Liam, didn't you bring an umbrella?" He replied with a quiet At that moment, a thunderclap sounded, and Liam sighed, saying, "Really unlucky. Looks like I'll have to get soaked." Daniel clearly saw Eleanor's hand tighten around the umbrella. Pretending not to care, he looked at her and said, "Let's go." She replied with a soft her gaze drifting toward the heavy rain as she muttered, "This rain might last all night." Daniel understood what she meant. She was worried about Liam, who didn't have an umbrella and couldn't get a taxi. The rain kept pouring down. Without changing his expression, Daniel opened the umbrella and walked into the rain. In his peripheral vision, he saw Liam frown, looking at Eleanor with a pitiful expression. Soon enough, Eleanor's figure appeared beside him. She pretended as if she hadn't noticed anything, lightly saying, "Let's go, we'll head home." When they reached the subway entrance, her phone lit up. Her eyes darkened, her face full of concern. Daniel smiled and asked, "Is your best friend looking for you?" When he asked, she seemed to snap out of it and nodded absent-mindedly, but her gaze was still fixed on the rain outside. The sound of the rain was like someone crying. He asked, "Eleanor, are you sure you want to go to my place now?" She answered, "Of course." Daniel chuckled lightly, then deliberately asked, "Are you worried about Liam not having an umbrella?" She bit her lip and said, "Of course not. Don't think like that about me. I'm not in contact with him anymore." After saying that, she tried to nestle into his arms like she usually did, but Daniel extended his arm to keep a safe distance, casually saying, "All right, I believe you. But if I find out you're lying, Eleanor, it won't be as simple, let's part ways nicely." She paused for a moment, then looked up at him and coldly snorted, "I wouldn't." Daniel nodded and pretended to be magnanimous, saying, "Fine. How about we just go home separately today? The rain's too heavy, my place is far, don't catch a cold. Also, we've run out of stuff, so it's not convenient to buy more. Don't bother. Actually, I've got some work to do, so I'll be late." Her place was in the opposite direction. She hesitated for a long time, then carefully looked at him and asked, "Then should I just go home now?" Daniel nodded. Seeing that he didn't insist, she started walking in the opposite direction, but Daniel followed her closely. After exiting the station, he saw her quickly disappear into the rain, holding her umbrella. This was the second time she'd lied to him. The pain on his face felt real. The blood of revenge slowly pulsed through his veins. Eleanor, he had given her the chance to save face. From now on, don't blame him. As expected, Daniel received a message from Liam, sent privately. It said, "I told you, if I had something, she would show up in front of me immediately. You lost." He quickly retracted the message. Daniel almost crushed his phone. It wasn't that he liked Eleanor so much. It was because one day, someone actually dared to shit on his head. Liam was really asking for trouble. He made a call. Soon, a Bentley pulled up in front of him. He got into the back seat, told the driver an address, and as the car merged into the main road, the woman beside him coldly snorted and said, "How did you manage to make yourself look so pathetic?" Daniel frowned and said, "Stop nagging." Hannah teased, "Did you have a fight with your little girlfriend?" Daniel stayed silent. When he dated Eleanor, he had hidden his identity. He just wanted a simple relationship. Besides, his relationship with his father wasn't great, and he didn't want to bring up these things. He closed his eyes in the car, trying to think whether he should just scold them both back to their hometowns, or find a quiet place to beat them up. But Hannah kept talking. It was driving him crazy. He said, "Hannah, you can't find a boyfriend because you talk too much." He opened his eyes to look at her. She wasn't angry. Instead, she smiled and said, "This is how you treat your benefactor, calling me out at night like this. I'm going to need extra payment for this." Daniel was really done with her. He said, "You're a rich lady. Why are you so picky about this little bit of money?" She said in a high-pitched voice, "Not picky. I'm just preparing to get married. You know, I've got to learn how to manage the household." Daniel shivered, but then got back to the topic. He said, "I just want to see what he's trying to pull next. By the way, how's that thing I asked you to do going?" She replied, "Don't worry, young Master Reynolds. All the information will be sent to your inbox in the next few days." Daniel nodded and said, "Especially Chloe's IP address. Make sure you keep a close eye on it." Then he opened his phone and posted a cryptic, "Evil spirits, stay away." Seeing that he wasn't talking, Hannah leaned over and squinted her eyes, saying, "What's going on? Is young Master Reynolds angry?" Daniel was speechless. he said, angry. Do you think I would get mad because of a woman? She rolled her eyes and said, but your face is written all over with displeasure. He snapped, nonsense. I'm just thinking about how to deal with this properly. She chuckled lightly and said, if you need help, you can come to me. I love watching those two men fighting for one woman. Daniel was speechless. When he got out of the car, Hannah called him back. He turned around helplessly and said, what now? She blinked and asked, about what we talked about last time. Is that still valid? He didn't answer and quickly walked away. Hannah texted him, coward. For the next few days, Eleanor kept texting him, trying to guilt trip him. He deleted every single message. When she showed up after work to find him, he ignored her completely. He got into the car and left. A week later, she finally stopped him as he was about to get in the car, demanding, Daniel, what do you mean by this? He opened the car door, looked at her, and said, don't you know what breaking up means? We have no relationship anymore. Understand? Talking to you is really exhausting. Her eyes reddened, and she said, I didn't agree to it. Then she added, and I can explain. Her voice trembled as she continued. Since that day, I haven't contacted him at all. Daniel snorted. Which day? Eleanor's expression flashed with a moment of embarrassment. She bit her lip and said, the day of the heavy rain. She was really good at being vague. But that night, even after Daniel blocked Liam, he still sent him a message. I heard you guys were still using protection when you slept together. Daniel didn't. He was so mad that he spent the entire night hitting the punching bag. And then, from a few clues on Liam's social media, he found his account. He discovered that, in fact, they had never stopped contacting each other. As if on cue, Liam appeared and grabbed Eleanor. Why are you still looking for him? Look at him. He's renting luxury cars to pick up girls. A guy like him isn't worth your time. Daniel looked at Eleanor and sneered. He's right. Just look at how worthless you are. Liam was speechless. He froze for a second and then said, I told you, Daniel is just a scumbag. Now you should believe me, right? Eleanor grabbed Daniel's hand and wouldn't let go. She said, Daniel, is that true? Have you really already moved on to someone else? Daniel remained expressionless and said, why do you need me to report to you? Wait, Eleanor, what's going on with your brain? You went to another man's house, and now you're talking about this? Is this your double standard? She panicked and explained, we're just classmates. Daniel laughed. Yeah, and I'm also classmates with the person in the car. You can go to your classmate's house, so why can't I? Eleanor's face showed pain, and she said, Daniel, you still love me, right? You're just trying to make me jealous, right? Hearing this, Liam's face turned pale. Daniel mocked Eleanor. Do you want to hear yourself out loud? The next second, Hannah appeared, her long legs stepping out of the car. When Eleanor compared herself to Hannah, everything about her, from looks to aura, was crushed. Daniel heard Eleanor's voice trembling. Miss Davies. When Daniel got in the car, he still heard Liam's mocking voice. Liam said, so how's it going? Didn't I tell you? A guy like Daniel, renting luxury cars, buying fake bags, using sweet talk to deceive who knows how many rich girls? And now you believe me, right? Daniel rolled up the window. Hannah looked at him with confusion and asked, aren't you going to slap him, young Master Reynolds? Daniel was speechless. He replied, you strike the snake by hitting its vital spot. One move to win it all, no chance for a comeback. She asked, is it worth it to go through all this trouble for them? Daniel didn't answer, just silently looked out the window, thinking about the past. When he was a child, his father had convinced his mother to quit her stable job and start a business, while Daniel was sent to live with his uncle. His aunt didn't like him, so he ended up doing all the housework and looking after his younger siblings. His father would send enough money every month for living expenses. His aunt would always mock him in front of everyone, saying he ate too much and that the money his parents sent wasn't enough due to the rising cost of living. She'd say they only kept him around because they pitied him. He still remembered the embarrassment of being roasted from both sides. Later, she falsely accused him of stealing her money and punished him by making him kneel in the living room while strangers pointed fingers at him. He was forced to submit. He was only 8 years old then. After that incident, he started living on his own, but he was someone who repaid every grudge, no matter how small. He later found out about her affair and spent a long time planning a big scheme. He exposed her dirty secrets to the village, and once rumors started circulating, she couldn't hold her head up anymore. After divorcing his uncle, she returned to her parents' home. So he knew if he didn't hit the most critical point, it wasn't worth doing at all. He said, "It's not the right time yet. Let's wait." Hannah gave him a long, scrutinizing look and said, "Well, I'll wait to see the show you're about to put on." Daniel didn't respond, quietly waiting for the fish to bite. Eleanor still called him every day, driving him crazy. And the most direct attack came through Liam, who kept opposing him at work with passive-aggressive comments. Until one day, Eleanor got drunk at a bar with her girlfriends. Olivia called Daniel and said, "Daniel, can't you stop being so petty? We've apologized. Can't that be enough? Come comfort her. She's really upset. If she keeps drinking like this, something bad will happen." Daniel listened to the noisy background and caught the sound of Liam's mocking laugh. He calmly said, "If she dies, just call the crematorium." They didn't even try to hide it anymore and began to insult him openly. Olivia cursed, "Daniel, I advise you not to be so ungrateful. Don't do anything too extreme, or you'll get what's coming to you." Daniel fiddled with the watch he had just bought and sneered, "Thanks for the advice. Maybe I'll be even more extreme. I heard you're getting engaged soon, right?" He hung up because he knew someone was about to snap. Sure enough, the next day at work, Patrick, a colleague, grabbed him and said, "Brother Reynolds, did you offend someone?" Daniel asked, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, on the employee forum, someone exposed some bad stuff about you. Maybe you should go home and rest for today." Daniel opened his phone, and the headline on the screen was, "Be careful of being deceived. Scam artist rents luxury cars and buys fake bags to lure rich girls, even preying on elderly women." There were several pictures of him, mostly photos of Hannah, the car, and high-definition shots of his father's secretary accompanying him while he bought watches and suits. They even forged some transfer records. He forgot to mention, the company he worked for was owned by his father. He'd had dinner with him a few times before, of course, just for his own benefit. Liam had written a passionate little essay, exposing everything, and posted it. He claimed Daniel was shameless and immoral, that he used mistresses to hook up with wealthy women, and was ruining society's morals. At that exact moment, Eleanor sent Daniel a link to the Weibo post, saying, "Daniel, I've misjudged you. You make me sick." Daniel glanced at the post. More than 500 people had already shared it. What a coincidence. He quickly forwarded the link to Hannah, saying, "Track the IP. Make it quick." Then he locked the screen and went into the office with Patrick. Daniel couldn't believe he still walked in like nothing was wrong. Liam, in full victory mode, didn't even try to hide his mockery as he taunted him in the break room. Fine. The gift Daniel had for him was ready. As soon as Daniel sat down, Liam walked over and said, "I told you. You should have been more sensible." Daniel pressed record on his phone, then innocently asked, "So the stuff on the forum was all posted by you, right?" Liam remained guarded and didn't respond. Daniel wasn't in a hurry. Then, Daniel opened Eleanor's WeChat. He accidentally played a voice message. "Babe, listen to me. I have nothing to do with Liam. I don't like him at all. He's just a simp. I never even look at him. And I heard that his circle abroad is a mess, with both men and women involved. How could I like such a guy?" Out of the corner of his eye, Daniel saw Liam's hands clenched, veins bulging. Daniel also had to thank Eleanor for sending him that message. It helped him locate all of Liam's dirty secrets. Daniel quietly sighed and said, "Simp, really lost all value." Liam was furious and spat out, "You won't be smug for long." Daniel laughed. He wasn't sure who wouldn't be smug for long. The next second, his father walked into the company with a group of people. He didn't often come to the office, but today he brought a long, dark face, filled with rage. The entire office was filled with a tense atmosphere, everyone waiting to watch Daniel's next move. Daniel's father immediately called an urgent, all-hands meeting. Patrick held Daniel back and said, "Brother, don't go in yet." Daniel asked, "Why shouldn't I go?" Not only did he plan to go, but he also had some more exciting things ready for his father's secretary. Daniel sat in the front row of the meeting. Hannah pouted at him and shook her head. He checked his phone. She had just sent him a message saying, "You should have made your move sooner." He knew she thought he was too slow, and that his reputation had suffered as a result. He should have struck first. That would have been the most advantageous for him. But Daniel knew that some people's inner darkness was far more terrifying than he had imagined. If he had only made a superficial move, it wouldn't have had the desired effect. In the end, everyone has something they care about, something they can't afford to lose, and what Daniel needed to do was destroy it all, root and branch. Liam thought he had won, standing there with an upright posture and his eyes practically pointed to the sky. But the next moment, Daniel's father spoke up. "I'll be straightforward with all of you." Then he pointed at Daniel and said, "Daniel is my son." Everyone was stunned. Liam, who had been so arrogant just moments ago, suddenly lost all his confidence. His face turned pale. Look at that. When people get agitated, they lose their composure. Anyone with a brain would know to check into Daniel's background. So even if Liam wanted to check, he wouldn't be able to find anything. Then Daniel's father continued, "My son Daniel was once engaged to Hannah from the Davies family. This wasn't part of Daniel's plan." He looked at Hannah. She tilted her head and smiled at him. Daniel was speechless. She was pretending to be his fiancée to help clear up the rumors. Somehow, an unfamiliar emotion crawled through his heart. The post content was explained in just a few simple sentences. Daniel walked up to the stage, watching the police officers enter the room, then turned to Liam, who was trembling in the audience, and smiled brightly. "Liam, spreading rumors comes with legal consequences. Do you think we don't have the law in this country? Do you think we don't have justice?" Under everyone's watchful eyes, Liam was dragged away by the police, his face ashen. As for Daniel, he was going to return the favor. He had his secretary hire a few writers to release part of the information online to clear his name, while another portion would be mailed to Liam's parents, as well as to Eleanor and Chloe's families. His secretary asked, "Should we send it now?" Daniel shook his head, thought for a moment, and said, "The story's not over yet. Let's wait a bit. I heard his parents are both teachers. I wonder what they'll think when they find out about the dirty things their son's been doing abroad." Daniel also went to the police station to give his statement. The IP addresses used to slander him were traced back to overseas locations, but Liam hadn't acted directly. He had enlisted Chloe's help. From the first time Daniel met them, he could tell their relationship was unusually ambiguous. After all, they were just classmates. Who gets that close to their best friend's boyfriend? She knew all about his personal matters and even defended him. If Chloe hadn't been so unattractive, she probably would have taken his place by now. So Daniel had had a look into Chloe's background. What a revelation. No wonder Liam had been spreading all those lies about Daniel. He was doing the exact same thing. Liam's reputation overseas was already in tatters. He'd been living a disreputable life abroad, pretending to be a successful businessman, scamming female students who had just arrived, tricking them for money and sex. He'd even gotten someone pregnant and then ran off. But as the saying goes, evil deeds come back to bite you. He got caught by a gang leader who broke his legs and exposed him in the Chinese community. So, in the end, when he couldn't get by abroad, Liam slinked back to the country and tried to rekindle his relationship with his ex-girlfriend, Eleanor. At the police station, Liam was shouting, "Daniel, you bastard." Daniel shrugged and nonchalantly replied, "You think you're so clever? If I liked Eleanor that much, I would have messed everything up by now. But sorry, I'm not a simp. I don't like her that much." Liam was shaking as he looked at the police and stammered, "I didn't spread those rumors. You're wrongfully accusing me." Meanwhile, Chloe had already surrendered and handed over all the chat logs and voice recordings to the police. Even though Liam hadn't acted directly, he was the mastermind behind it. Daniel turned to Chloe and said, "Chloe, you told me to call the police that day, didn't you? Well, here we are." In the end, Daniel didn't support any mediation. Chloe and Liam were both detained for defamation, and he demanded they publicly apologize online until he was satisfied. With a criminal record, Chloe lost the job she had just gotten. Liam was also fired from Daniel's father's company, and they reserved the right to pursue legal action against him. You could have fired them right away. Why wait for them to release those posts? After they left, Hannah asked Daniel. He smiled and said, "If I fired them, they'd get compensation. People like him aren't worth a single cent more from me." She snorted and teased, "You really are a heartless capitalist." When they got home, Daniel's father was sitting on the couch waiting for him. "Son." Daniel didn't say anything, just walked over and sat down. His father reached out to pull him closer, but Daniel pushed him away. His father paused, lowered his head, and sighed. "You should have told me earlier." Daniel replied, "You're so busy. When would you have time to care about my stuff?" His father said, "You're my son. How could I let you suffer like this?" Daniel awkwardly looked away. Actually, It had been a long time since they sat down like this and talked. In the past, he had only used him. Seeing that Daniel didn't respond, his father continued, I know you haven't forgiven me, but in this world, you're all I have. Everything I do it for you. If you're not happy, what's the point of all this? Daniel wasn't one for words, and he always carried an air of aloof indifference. But somehow when his father said that, a tinge of emotion crept up his nose. His father paused and added, I regret what happened with your mother. I miss her too. Daniel asked, You miss her? Then why didn't you go see her all these years? He couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears started to fall as he looked at his father angrily, saying, She was supposed to come to my parent-teacher meeting that day, but you called her to deliver some documents, and she got into a car accident. If you hadn't asked her to go, she'd still be alive. His words struck his father hard. His face showed clear pain as his eyes reddened, and he said, I'm sorry. Daniel gritted his teeth and said, Sorry won't bring my mother back. He left those words hanging in the air and stormed off to his room, slamming the door behind him. Things were calm for only a few days, until the day Liam and Chloe were released. Eleanor, for the first time ever, called Daniel. She said, Daniel, we need to talk. Daniel asked about what. She replied, My friends want to apologize to you. Daniel laughed and said, If apologies worked, why do we even need the police? It seemed like her friends must have found out about the situation between her and Liam, and were now trying to placate Daniel out of fear. But it was too late. There was a long silence on Eleanor's end before she softly said, I'm sorry, Daniel. It was me who hurt you. It had nothing to do with anyone else. But about the things you lied to me about, like hiding the fact that you're a rich heir, I didn't hold it against you. Daniel was speechless and said, So, the point of this call is that you want to settle scores with me, right? Eleanor didn't answer, but Daniel could hear her voice was dry. She said, You lied to me first, so I lied to you. We can call it even. But the others, they are my good friends, my close companions. They shouldn't be punished for the mess between us. Daniel asked, What do you want to say? She replied, They want to have a meal with you and apologize in person. After that, we'll go our separate ways. You can continue on your path, and we'll continue with ours. What do you think? Daniel answered, Sure. Send me the time and address. Before he even had the chance to deal with the others, he couldn't sit still anymore. So he decided to settle it all in one go, saving himself from having to go after each one individually. Before Daniel left, Hannah called and warned him that it was a trap. She said, Since they hated you, they definitely caused trouble. Daniel replied indifferently, It doesn't matter. I'm just going to see how they plan to mess with me. She sighed and said, Then you need to stay on the phone with me. I'm ready to call an ambulance at any moment. Daniel said, Don't worry about me. Don't you remember I'm a kickboxing expert? Hannah answered, I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about them. Just go easy on them. Daniel chuckled, Don't worry, they won't die. When Daniel arrived, all 5 of them were there. Of course, a family needs to be complete. As soon as they saw him, they stood up cautiously to greet him. Daniel took a long stride and sat down near the door. He crossed his arms and looked at them, saying, Well, let's hear it. How do you plan to apologize? Eleanor reluctantly stood up first and said, Daniel, I'm sorry. I admit I hurt you, and I shouldn't have trampled on your love for me. Daniel was speechless. What was she talking about? He never loved her. He was just interested in her body. She continued, You made me lose my job. I think that makes us even, right? Daniel looked up and realized that her job loss was the issue. Eleanor worked at the C Group. If it hadn't been for him reaching out to Hannah, he would never have met Eleanor. He perked up, wondering what other tricks she might try. When she saw he didn't respond, she bit her lip and said, But you were involved with Hannah while you were with me. I'm a victim here too. Let's not talk about it anymore. You rich people like to play with women's emotions, and I guess I'll just have to accept it. We can never see each other again after today. Daniel laughed and said, All right. Next. He gently tapped his glass. Olivia stood up, not even looking at him. She spoke with disdain despite the supposed apology, sneering as she said, Sorry, I shouldn't have tried to defend my friend. She implied that Daniel was the one ruining their friendship. She added, From now on, I'll stay far away from people like you. You're a big shot, so you can forgive me, right? Daniel didn't say anything, and she sat down. It was like watching a bunch of elementary school kids giving apologies, each one trying to throw in a few digs along the way. Isabel said, I shouldn't have called you poor. I was being blind. Okay, Chloe said. I shouldn't have tried to get Eleanor to break up with you. Finally, it was Liam's turn. He sighed and said, Sorry, Daniel. I shouldn't have tried to steal Eleanor from you. Daniel rubbed his ears. Did a dog chew on your voice? Why are you speaking so softly? Are you reading scriptures to your ancestors? Liam was furious. He shot a look at Chloe, frowned, and then raised his voice, Sorry. Please forgive my ignorance. Daniel smiled and said, I remember you like drinking, right? Then drink that bottle and apologize to me. Chloe couldn't sit still anymore. She said unhappily, Liam is allergic to alcohol. Daniel smiled. You know so much, Chloe. If it weren't for that face of yours, even a mosquito wouldn't want to bite. You'd probably have taken his place overseas a long time ago. Both of them were left speechless. Her face was red with embarrassment. Daniel turned to Eleanor. Oh, it seemed like she didn't know. He added fuel to the fire. Eleanor, you didn't know? I thought you two best friends shared everything. Eleanor's face darkened. Daniel raised an eyebrow and glanced at the group. No one dared speak. He casually ate a few bites of food. Damn, it was awful. They were trying to fool him with this trash. Daniel stood up and said, The alley outside seems like a good place for an apology. Line up and bow to me. Show me your sincerity. They exchanged glances and then followed him out. After they came out, Liam took the first shot. He shouted, What's so arrogant about you, you bastard? Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson for them. But Daniel ignored him completely. In their puzzled gazes, he took off his coat and threw it over the surveillance camera to block it. Then he shook his head, stretched his muscles, and said, All right, that dry apology back there was really boring. You guys don't know how painful it is, because the harm didn't fall on you. If I go too easy or too hard later, just bear with it. Without waiting for anyone to react, Daniel first gave Eleanor 3 loud slaps, shouting, You're the best at shifting the blame. Well then, I wish you a house full of children, but no one knows who the real father is. In the next moment, he quickly stepped up to Liam and slapped him hard across the face. He cursed, Look at you, shameless as hell. You don't even look like a pig. Let me help you out. Great. His face was already swollen. Olivia, who loves to run her mouth. Daniel gave her a big slap right on her mouth. He laughed and said, You must be the T between A and D, I, N, P, V, and N on a keyboard. Why are you so fond of meddling in other people's business? Why don't you go try the taste of the manure truck passing by the door? Did she think Daniel didn't know about her mess? He had all the materials ready for the Discipline Inspection Commission. As she wanted, she'd be far away from him soon. He bet she'd be so happy. Hey, then there's Isabel. Daniel turned around and slapped her fake nose hard, yelling, Has your stomach been bothering you lately, so much that you've lost your mind? You're not just blind. You're like a dog chasing the moon, clueless about your limits. Daniel had sent her husband a nice little gift, wondering how he'll react when he finds out she was already with her brother. Finally, Chloe, who took advantage of their student relationship to play games and spread rumors about Daniel. He pulled her over and slapped her continuously, giving her a real beating. He said, Let me give you some. Having an empty head is fine, but don't let it fill with water. Liam tells you to do something. You just do it. With your IQ, you should eat a whale to boost your brain power. Then Daniel started going after everyone indiscriminately. By the time they were all kneeling and begging for mercy, he clapped his hands and said, Listen, don't think just because you're a bunch of people, you can go head to head with me. What I've done to you is already a light punishment. I've never been a likable person because I hold grudges. You slap me once, I'll slap you back, and I'll punch and kick you as well. Sometimes, when the law can't solve the problem, I solve it in my own way. Daniel's way. By the time Daniel got home, it was already late. The lights were still on inside, so he knew his dad was back. Daniel went in, took off his clothes, and sat across from him. After a moment of silence, his father said, Don't worry. I'll handle everything from here on out. No one humiliates my son and gets away with it. Daniel didn't say anything and just crossed his legs, playing on his phone. His father seemed a little awkward. Inside, I don't have many desires. I just want you to be happy and healthy. Daniel said, Dad, do you think I'd be healthy growing up if I didn't do these things? He looked up and stared into his father's eyes. Before I was 5, I had a family with both parents, but you insisted on doing business and abandoned our stable life, leaving me alone in my hometown. He paused and continued. Do you know what my life was like back then? At school, people would say I had parents who gave birth to me but didn't raise me. After school, I'd do my homework, wash rice, steam the food, take showers, cut vegetables, and take care of my younger siblings. My aunt would constantly belittle me, and my uncle would never step up and say a word. He paused again before continuing. The living expenses you gave me never made it to my hands. There was one time I saw others eating snacks, and I actually drooled. Do you know how shameful I felt? He sneered as he spoke. After middle school, when you finally achieved some success, you brought me to the big city. But do you know what my life was like in school? Ridiculed, bullied, and tormented. My arms and legs were always covered in scars, and I didn't dare show them to you, because even if I was beaten, I didn't want to be alone again. I just wanted my mom and dad. So I worked hard to become stronger. I learned Taekwondo, learned Sanda, and hung out with delinquents, learning how to curse. I didn't want to bully others. I just wanted to protect myself. I didn't want you and Mom to worry about me. I wanted a complete family. The so-called prestigious school you put me in was just a smaller version of the underworld. Finally, I had the ability to fight back. And what did you say? You told me not to stir up trouble, not to learn from others and fight. Did you ever ask me why I did all that? You thought it was embarrassing not to attend parent-teacher meetings, and even told Mom not to come that day. It was the first time in 3 years that Mom was going to attend my parent-teacher meeting. Do you know how happy I was? But I didn't even get to see her for the last time. You lied to me, saying she was on a business trip, and only after my midterms did you tell me the truth, that she wasn't coming back. How can I ever forgive you for that? His father remained silent for a long time, tears streaming down his face. Daniel wiped the tears from his own face and sniffed, saying, Dad, we both need time to get over this. He stood up to go upstairs when he heard his aged voice. But Daniel, I will always love you. I'm always on your side. And from now on, I'll try my best to make up for it. Daniel didn't respond, and as he was about to go upstairs, he saw Hannah standing by the pillar. He didn't know how much she heard, but it didn't matter. She knew all about his past. He turned his gaze away and walked upstairs. As he looked at the family photo on his bedside table, he broke down in tears. He, Daniel, might be a cold, calculating, and ruthless person, but he will always be his parents' child, their little one forever in their eyes. If he could, who wouldn't want a peaceful, beautiful life? In the next moment, his phone vibrated. He took it out. It was a message from Hannah. Do you want to open the door and move into my warm embrace? Daniel replied, go away. But he still wanted to thank her. Without her, during those middle school and high school years, he didn't know if he could have become the strong Daniel. The first, and today? Hannah asked again. Remember when we said if neither of us is married by 30, we'll be together? Don't back out now, Mr. Reynolds. Daniel frowned and replied, 3 more years. Wait for me. She responded, then I'll be waiting for you to marry me. She's crazy. Daniel pulled out his high school graduation photo, where Hannah was standing right next to him. She flashed a peace sign at the camera, and he foolishly smiled. In his yearbook, she wrote, no matter where you go, I'll be here waiting for you. And his message to her was, I don't need anyone waiting for me, 'cause I'll fly higher and higher. He thought, well, the future, let's leave that for the future. Daniel is different from all of us. He has a pair of stubborn eyes and a natural air of arrogance. More than half of the class is made up of students who've come up from the same elementary school. They form cliques, favor the rich, and dislike the poor. At such a young age, we're all exposed to these kinds of things. When Daniel first arrived, everyone was curious about him, especially when they learned he was from the countryside. Hannah sat behind him. She always saw him sitting straight, like a wolf pup ready to pounce. It seemed like he was trying hard to fit in. Then, after the first test, he came in first place. The day after that, during the break, she noticed his arm was bruised and purple. Later, she heard that he had been isolated by the former top student in the class, who had begun bullying him. Hannah remembered that guy. His last name was Bai, and he dressed very neatly. Such things were common at this school. The wealthy ones all have this I don't like you, and you don't like me attitude. Hannah was worried about Daniel, but he remained completely calm, calmer than any 12-year-old should be. If it had been anyone else, they would have run to the teacher or their parents, crying and complaining. But not him. He still sat up straight and continued coming in first place on every test. One day, Hannah happened to run into him being attacked in the bathroom. Just as a fist was about to land, she saw him grab the person's hand and counterattack. Everyone around them was stunned, but unfortunately, there were too many of them, and Daniel's strength alone wasn't enough. Hannah helped him and called the teacher. In the past, she'd been afraid of being isolated, so she never dared to interfere in these things. But seeing him take the blows, her heart hurt. Daniel leaned against the wall to get up and thanked her. Before she could say anything, he looked at her and said, "Don't get involved with me. They might retaliate against you. I'll get stronger on my own." Hannah looked into his clear, bright eyes, and for some reason, her heart started beating faster. Later, she ran into him at a training class. He was learning Sanda, and his eyes were filled with fierce determination. Suddenly, she remembered that moment when he fought back, and she could see it reflected in the current him. This person is incredibly resilient. From being trampled underfoot to being able to throw punches and hit back with both hands. He didn't take long at all. He said, "I never start trouble, but I'm not afraid of it. If someone respects me by a foot, I'll give back a yard, but if they slap me, I'll punch and kick them back." Such a stubborn wolf pup. After that, no one dared to bully him anymore. He earned their respect with his own strength. When he entered high school, he became more withdrawn and silent. That proud wolf pup seemed to have collapsed all at once. Hannah found out later that his mother had passed away. He didn't seem to have many friends and became even more isolated, more solitary, with a bad temper. But his grades were still among the best. Whenever someone new, who didn't know his backstory, tried to challenge him, he'd break their hand with a single strike. One day, Hannah asked him why he wasn't happy. He said he'd always felt like the extra one, the one who didn't belong. His parents were never home, and his uncle and aunt didn't like him. Finally, when the whole family could gather, his parents were just too busy. The only person who loved him, his mother, had died in a car accident. It seemed like this world was just like that. Later, in the high school yearbook, Hannah wrote, "No matter where you go, I'll be here waiting for you." He smiled and said, "I don't need anyone to wait for me, because I'll fly higher and higher." Those were truly the words of the proud and stubborn Daniel. There was always no one around Daniel and Hannah until one day, when Hannah took advantage of his drunken state and jokingly tested him by saying, "If we're both single by the time we're 30, how about we try being together?" He drunkenly agreed. Hannah recorded the conversation as evidence so that later on, he wouldn't be able to back out. She's such a bad woman. But then one day, she saw a post on his social media saying that he had a girlfriend. She asked him how he suddenly got a girlfriend. He said that other girls were reserved and slow, but this one, when he gave her a gift and confessed, she accepted immediately. He'd never met such an unpretentious girl. The most important thing was, Daniel said this girl was gentle and cute. Hannah looked her up. Her name was Eleanor, and she worked at C Group. It seemed like it was Hannah who had introduced them. When she found out, she nearly wanted to kill herself. Then she realized Daniel seemed to like gentle and cute people. During that time, Hannah tried her best to change, until one day, the maid looked at her with a troubled expression and asked, "Miss Davies, are you planning to fire me?" Hannah was confused. The maid said, "I don't know why, but lately your smile gives me the creeps." Hannah was practicing being gentle, and they said she gave them the creeps. Forget it. Hannah Davies can't learn to be that way. So she gave up. She thought Daniel was just casually dating, but to her surprise, a whole year passed. Every time she secretly hid downstairs from his house, watching him come back, she couldn't help but wish that the person walking beside him was her. She'd wait right here behind him, Daniel. He just had to turn around, and he'd see her. It hurt so much to realize that there was someone she could never have. Thinking about it made her angry. Then one day, he called her and asked her to help him look up something. Since he started dating, they hadn't talked in a long time. She asked what was going on. He said it was nothing, just that he was itching for a fight. He hadn't felt that rush in a while. Hannah realized maybe that woman had betrayed him. She was so angry. The man she liked was being cheated on, so she had people investigated. All that day, it was raining, and Daniel called her to meet him. Hannah knew that he was about to do something. Sitting in the car with him, he looked tired, almost like he'd gone back to his student days. She knew sometimes he didn't want to look back. She wanted Davies' group to step in and help him, but he stopped her, saying, "I don't get involved with people's problems, but if someone crosses me, I'll make them pay. Don't worry about it." The fierceness in his eyes made her think of the Daniel who once learned Taekwondo and Sanda, the Daniel she loved. Always with his head held high, fighting against anyone who challenged him. He said, "If the law can't solve something, I'll handle it my way. I always keep my word." Daniel is really handsome. That day, he was dressed in a sharp black outfit, neat guards and pads, fully geared up. Watching him block the cameras and beat those people up, Hannah was overjoyed. She thought, finally, he must have blown off some steam. But then after everything was dealt with, she saw him quietly sitting by the river. He sat there for a long time, deep in thought. He was probably thinking about his mother. Hannah really wanted to go up and be with him, but she knew, at this moment, he probably wanted to be alone. She followed him back home and listened to the things he said. Actually, she already knew everything, but hearing those words about the bullying from his own mouth made it so hard to breathe. He tore apart all the layers of pretense and let out the softest part of himself as he yelled at his dad. But Hannah understood this was him starting to let go. He was finally ready to put the past behind him and start over. She said to him, "How about opening the door? Come stay in my gentle haven." He replied, "Go away. Go away." That stubborn wolf pup was back. Even if he doesn't accept her now, it doesn't matter. The world is round, and the people who are meant to be together will eventually come together. So, Daniel, for the rest of our lives, please take care of me.